Michael, first off, did the weekend become a bit of a write-off after Saturday? Did it just become a journey on the coach?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's difficult in them sort of scenarios, especially with it being called off. I say as late as it was. Obviously, there's a few other teams that had to deal with a scenario of being called off a little bit later. But sometimes, if it's called off in the morning, you've got the opportunity to sort of maybe travel back and train at your training ground, and that would have been an option if it would have been a bit earlier. But by the time we would have got back to Lincoln, we would have really struggled for daylight. So the lads trained yesterday, so travelled back to Lincoln, obviously didn't do anything, and we trained yesterday instead.
Does it mess up your week's plans as well with the training day moving and things like that, or have you kept this week the same?
No, this week's the same. This week's the same. I mean, obviously, clearly we're not going to, go mad and go daft with the players today, but they'll do enough and what's needed before the game tomorrow. But it's not too much of a disruption. It's more of a pain than anything else.
With Bolton playing though at the weekend, does that give you a bit of a fitness and freshness advantage, do you think?
Who knows? I mean, obviously, when you're in the form that Bolton are in and you win a game as emphatically as they did on Saturday, sometimes your energy levels are even better, and that adrenaline just comes really, really natural. And clearly, they're in a great place at the minute. The business that they did in January was probably as good as anyone has done. And the performance and the results are proving that.
Are they showing where you expected them to be in terms of form and how well they're playing now compared to when we saw them early on in the season?
Well, to be fair, early on in the season when we did play them, they were actually on a decent enough run as well. It was a good game. The game, I think if the way the game went early on in the season, I think 0-0 would have been a fair result. There wasn't really much happening, and obviously we had a little bit of a calamity. There was 3 or 4 errors in the build-up to the goal that they scored. But it was a good game of football, and 2 good teams who passed the ball well and looked to play attacking style football. So, but where they're at now, obviously they're in a very, very different place. Like I said, they've brought 4 or 5 real top quality players in and managed to get them, not just on loan, obviously, just to be able to get them and be permanent signings was a great coup for them.
And they, a bit like you, decided to strengthen in attacking areas in League One in the January window. Is that sometimes the biggest surprise when you make that jump up from League Two to League One, the extra bit of attacking quality you need at this level?
I think it is because, you've only got to look at our season so far, really. And obviously last year we did ever so well with, some of the loans that we managed to get, and obviously losing George was a big one from that point of view as well. But we certainly create chances. We get into fantastic areas as we did against Doncaster. It was a great example. It's a reminder. It's only a few days since we had that game, and we should have been 5 or 6 up at half time. And ultimately, all it takes is one opportunity from the opposition, and you can lose the game. And it's even more difficult when you look at the stats afterwards. And Doncaster had 3 touches of the ball in our box and win the game 1-0. It's a little bit hard to take when you've been playing for 96 minutes.
With regards to injuries, anything for tomorrow? Are you looking like you've got the same squad?
We've got a couple of 50-50s, so we might have a bit of an issue in that back line. We've got a couple of lads who hopefully will come through something today, so I'll keep my fingers crossed on that. But yeah, that back line's been a little bit of a sore point for us all season, and we seem to be week in, week out, sort of trying to put a back 4 together. And it'd be nice if we can have 3 or 4, maybe even 5 games on the trot with a similar back 4. And I think the stronger we are from the base, obviously gives us a better chance of trying to keep a clean sheet.
Could it be one of those where a few maybe have to play through the pain barrier?
They're going to have to, Bob. Yeah, they're going to have to. If not, you might see a slightly different formation and style of how we go about it.
Wonderful. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, Rob. Ben Carr, any further questions?
Yeah, morning, Michael.
Morning.
Bolton fans online, they're they speak really positively about their right back, Malin Fossey. How much have you had the opportunity to see him play and really have a look at the challenges he might present you on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, the way they set up, they're very clever in terms of that they can quite easily during the game go from a back four into a back five as such with wing backs, and obviously Ben very, very good in the top end of the pitch in the opposition's half of the field, and when they turn him into a wing back instead of obviously a full back, obviously that's when he comes into his own. But you know, we've got a right back that we've brought in from Arsenal that's not bad. Also, and I think there's going to be a lot of people be interested in Brook between now and the end of the season. He's a player that personally, and I don't really like singing out too many people, but I'll be amazed if he doesn't play in the Premier League.